If you're buying in the south of England, let's say Birmingham, the property costs 200...
South of England is Birmingham?
Well, it's south of the north.
Okay. The 3% surcharge on stamp duty and land tax for additional homes or buy-to-let properties is having unintended consequences. The unintended consequences are higher rents and less rental housing supply in certain areas. We're going to cover that in this video, so stay tuned. But first, if you are new to this channel, don't go away without subscribing, hitting the bell icon. We put out 3 new videos each and every week. Andrew Roberts and I also host the Baker Street Property Meet, the UK's #1 property investors networking meetup, where you can join me and Andrew.
Hi everybody, and we hope to see you this month at this month's Baker Street. We always have unique top-level speakers every month for you, and Ranjan and I share great insights and we take your questions live.
Now, tickets always sell out. We get 300 passionate property investors coming to our monthly events. You're going to want to be there if you want to take your property journey to the next level. Get your ticket, book your spot at bakerstreetpropertymeet.com. Now, 3% surcharge. Now, this was brought in by the good old Conservative government in their wisdom. If you buy an additional property or a second property or a buy-to-let property, you have already the rip-off stamp duty and land tax tax, and then you have the 3% surcharge. Now, this is having unintended consequences. Now, just rewind back a little bit. Stamp duty, again, is a nonsense tax. It was brought in as a temporary tax to fund the Napoleonic Wars, believe it or not. So it's crazy and very, very typical how a temporary tax brought in for a short period has a habit of hanging around forever. But this whole thing about 3% surcharge has had unintended consequences. It makes buying buy-to-let property very expensive, doesn't it, Andrew?
It does, and thanks for the history lesson, Ranjan. I didn't know that. That's brilliant. No, I mean, what we've got to look at here is if you're buying a property in the north of England, circa £80,000, no stamp duty except the 3% additional fee. If you're buying in the south of England, let's say Birmingham, the property costs 200...
South of England is Birmingham?
Well, it's south of the north.
Okay. Carry on.
Tell me your comments. Where do you think the north-south divide lies? Is it Cockfosters or is it Birmingham?
Cockfosters, definitely. Go for it. Birmingham, you're saying.
Yeah, at 250k, what you're ending up is spending an extra £750 on tax purchasing that property. You might get similar rents and similar yields out of it. Therefore, why would you invest further south than Birmingham, where the stamp duty just continues to rise until your nose starts to bleed?
And of course, the way stamp duty works is that they have the threshold. So over 250 grand, it's a bit more. Over 500k, it's a bit more. And in London, southeast of England, many of those properties will be at those higher stamp duty bands. And of course, when you are buying an investment property, you have to come up with a 25% deposit. You have to come up with legal fees and minor refurbishment costs, furniture costs, and the stamp duty. And remember, you can't borrow that. It's not something you can add to the loan. So if you're paying £15,000-20,000 in stamp duty, that can affect the viability of the whole transaction.
Absolutely. And you know, for me, I'm looking at this, and if we pull it back to what's the purpose of my sort of frustration with this system is, we hear so often in the press, there's not enough homes to rent. Mm-hmm. Rents have risen 17 months on the bounce at the highest levels they've ever been. It's almost like a football team going 17 months without losing a game. Now, those rents are rising because the supply is decreasing. Rightmove has said there's 50,000 homes right now shortfall in the rental sector. Now, we think, 50,000 homes shortfall to rent. That's not a drop in the ocean. Savills produced a report, I think it was 2 months ago now, and they said by 2031 there is 1 million homes shortfall in the rental sector. So we need to be providing for that sector, and putting a surcharge to stop people doing it is not helping.
Doesn't make any sense. And this is all backed by some research conducted by the Coventry Building Society. The Coventry Building Society have said that for buy-to-let properties, buy-to-let purchases have actually dropped by 43,000 in the first quarter of 2024, and they are attributing this to this 3% surcharge, and I fully agree. It just doesn't make any sense.
Well, furthermore, buy-to-let purchases have always been over 200,000, and for the first time in January this year, it fell below 200,000. So there's a trend line there that not only are things like landlord taxation impacting this, but you've got the stamp duty additional charges, you've got the additional licensing that we've covered in previous videos where landlords are having to give the rent back. It is just take out of the back pocket of the landlord, and that money has to come from somewhere. And that is why rents are partly spiralling with the interest rates and the compliance costs.
And of course, this additional surcharge nonsense was brought in by George Osborne. He brought in some other tax nonsense which has affected landlords. And the MD of Paragon Bank, Richard Roundtree, came up with this comment which basically agrees with what I'm saying, which is the introduction of this surcharge disproportionately impacted those markets with above average house prices in the south of England. And what this has done, of course, is just crushed rental supply in those areas and pushed up rental prices.
Absolutely. So what are your thoughts? Are you a tenant? Are you renting? Are you in the south of England or the north of England? What impact is it having on you? If you're a landlord, how's this impacting your business? Tell us, is your profitability rising or falling at the moment?
And the other thing Andrew and I are really pissed off about is how landlords seem to get the blame for rising rents without looking at the wider picture. Now, this 3% surcharge tax that George Osborne has brought in actually raised £2.6 million last year. Now, that doesn't actually sound like a lot in the grand scheme of government taxation and all the rest of it, but the effect it has on small-time landlords' ability and desire to actually invest in property, rental property in areas where they have above average house prices is massive, because it just doesn't make sense. As you said, do it further afield.
Well, it doesn't make sense, and in those areas with the higher house prices, what you also find is that lenders won't lend on the higher loan to values because you're not passing the stress tests on the amount of rent raised, and since interest rates moved from 0.1% to 5.25%, that's been a 5,150% increase in interest costs on landlords' businesses.
Anyway, hopefully someone will see sense in all this nonsense. That's it for this video, but join Andrew and I, 300 plus property investors, at Baker Street Property Meet this month.
I look forward to seeing you this month at the Baker Street Property Meet. Get your tickets at bakerstreetpropertymeet.com.
The Baker Street Property Meet is the UK's largest and #1 property investors networking event. The property market is going through monumental change right now, and at Baker Street Property Meet we aim to keep you up to date with the latest tips and tricks and insider tactics to help you keep on top of your property investing game and succeed in these troubled economic times. The Baker Street Property Meet is fundamentally about networking, because it's not what you know, it's who you know. And at Baker Street, we aim to connect you with the people to make your property journey a monumental success. There's no better place to be to further your property investment journey than the Baker Street Property Meet. So make sure you're here, you're connecting with myself and Andrew Roberts, our expert guest speakers, and 300 passionate property people each and every month. See you at the next meet. Get your spot at bakerstreetpropertymeet.com.